So I want to just kind of take this opportunity to do two things. One, to see how well the NX800 matches up with the FX6 in post. And but before I do that, because part of it involves like how I color grade. So, and someone asked me in a previous video how I color graded. I think it was one of the videos where I talked about why I bought the NX800. Someone asked me, how I color grade that. So, because they liked how it looked. So I thought I would sit down and show you how I'm going to color grade these interviews here. And then part of that involves seeing, matching the two cameras up. I have a little bit of experience over the past couple of years trying to match up my FX30 with the FX6. And I feel like, I'm getting to where I can do a pretty good job at that. So we'll see how I can match up the NX800 with the FX6. But I do need to mention that I made a mistake with the NX800. I accidentally had the recording format in XAVC SL, and I should have had it in XAVC SI, I think, because the FX6, I have that in XAVC I, which is like the highest recording quality. And then the highest recording quality on the NX800 would be the XAVC SI, but I was using the SL. But we'll see how it matches up. It would probably be a best like one-to-one comparison if I was using the highest recording quality on both. Unfortunately, I made the mistake. I didn't have the NX800 in the highest quality, but as you'll see, they do look pretty similar. So here's a look at my screen. This is what I'm working with. This is what the close to the final product is gonna look like. I had a 2-camera setup. This one right here is the wide angle shot. I'm gonna clip my mic right here. This one is the wide angle shot. This was shot on the NX800. And then this one is the FX6. And this one had more of a tighter shot to it. I had it on the lens that I used on the FX6 here was the Sigma 24-70. And I had it set, I don't think I had it all the way punched in at 70, but it was pretty close. And that was at f2.8. And then the wide shot here with the NX800, this wasn't at 24, it was zoomed in a little bit, maybe, I'd say maybe 40 millimeters, and then the aperture was set to 3.4, I believe. So the Sigma, the FX6 it was a little more wide open there. So this is what the final, pretty close, but I wanted to go through and show you how I color grade both cameras. Let's start with, I'm gonna take everything off, all of the color corrections and everything that I did for both clips, and show you what the starting point looks like. So this would be the starting point for both pieces of footage. As you can tell, it's log format. I shot S-Log3, both of them, so it's pretty flat here. And how I color grade with the different LUTs that I use is kind of a 3-step process, or I have 3 adjustment layers that I use. And the first one is, so I'll say that the LUTs that I use them all from the same place. I get them from a website called Cinecolor. You guys might be familiar with that. I signed up for a newsletter a few years ago from, I think his name is Noam Kroll, and he runs Cinecolor, and he provides a lot of LUTs for, especially for the Sony cameras. And so I've tried them out over the past 2 years, and that's the only place I get my LUTs from. So everything you're gonna see in this video in terms of how I color grade with LUTs come from Cinecolor. And so the first LUT that I use is just a basic S-Log3 conversion LUT, which just brings all of the color and saturation back into the image. And so that's what I got here. So I'll put that on, And as you can see, that brings, you know, all the color back, saturation, everything in both images. So this is the FX6, and then I put the correction LUT on. This would be the NX800, just straight out of camera, and then with the LUT applied. And then on top of that, I will use a correction, or not a correction LUT, but like a style LUT, or a particular look that I'm going for. And I have a few that I tend to go to that I use. And so this one, and you can see it makes just a slight adjustment here. It might make things, so at this point in the color grade, things are looking a little, has like a magenta tint to it, but we'll fix that here in a bit. But in terms of overall color, I have a bunch of different LUTs from Cinecolor. A lot of them, the ones that I go for is usually these dock LUTs I will use. Or I bought these other ones that he released last year, and I believe this one, I'm using a portrait one, you know, because it's a sit down studio interview with the subject. And so I ended up going with this Portrait 4. And with these LUTs that I bought from him, I really have to dial them down a lot, because when I just initially apply them, they're way oversaturated, way overdone. And so I have to bring these down to about, you know, sometimes I'd say around 20%. I think on this one I have it at 15%. And then I try and keep that LUT, you know, the same between both cameras. And as you can see, there's a little difference between the cameras here. I would say the FX6 looks just a tiny bit more saturated than the NX800. The NX800 looks a little softer. You know, that might be because of the 1-inch sensor, but it could also be because of the recording format I used. I wasn't using the highest quality one, but I'm gonna fix that here in a bit. So I have that. I put the look grade that I have on here, and then it's usually there where I will start adjusting each clip, and I will do that in the clip down here. I won't put another adjustment layer on there. I'll just go through and then go to my color tab, and most of the adjustments I make are in the color wheel. And so I'll turn the color wheel on for both clips and show you what I did. So if I go back between each clip, they're looking a little more cohesive. So what I did on the FX6, and I usually do the waveform, and then I can go back and forth, and usually, I'll just toggle back and forth between the two clips, and I'll check the waveform to see if they look similar. And so what I did on the FX6 is, it looks like I brought the midtones down. I brought the highlights down a bit, and then I raised the shadows. And then I tinted it more towards the green side, just slightly. And then I also tried to shift the skin tones, because it was looking a little magenta, his skin tone, and I bring it more towards the green side. And how I do that is I will go in and I will crop the footage to where it just shows the face. That way I know I'm just getting the skin tones, because the skin tones are the most important, you know, element that you want to color correct for, or color anything for, because people are going to care about what they look like. You know, the wall doesn't care what it's going to look like. That plant in the background, it's not going to care what it looks like, but the person, the subject that you're interviewing, they're going to care what they look like. And so to adjust for the skin tones, I will crop to where you can just see their face on there, and then I'll go to the vector scope, and then I will make sure that it has, on the bottom here, I'm using Final Cut Pro, there's this line that shows, and that's where you want your skin tones to kind of be. So you have to go here and toggle it on to show skin tone indicator. And then I'll go back to the color wheel, and And I usually just adjust the mid-tones when it comes to skin tone. And let's see, let me double click to go back. So as you can see, when it's initially set here, the skin is looking a little red. And you can kind of tell over here in the vector scope that it's shifted more towards the magenta side right here. And what you want to do is bring it back more towards this green side. And so I'll grab the mid-tone section and I'll drag it over here to the green. But just let me hit undo, and this is where I ended up with the skin tones. And then once I get it to where I think it should be, I'll come back and I'll uncrop this. And then I'll do the same thing for the other camera. And then once I got the skin tones looking, natural, I'll just go back and toggle between each camera to see how it matches. Then I want to see, what that possibly did to the background. In the background, they look very similar. The skin tones look good. And then once I got that, I will put another LUT on top that I got from Cinecolor. I have 3 LUTs that I use. I have a basic correction one right here, and that's just to convert the log footage to bring all the color back into it. And then I use another one called Look Grade. And then I have Skin Adjust or Skin Tones, and that's the third one that I use. And I will put that on, and that kind of just softens their skin a little bit. And I believe that's what I did on, my sit down, like my talking head video that I did about my camera. This is the same process that I used. And so I'll toggle it on and off, and you can see that it just softens up the skin tone of hair. And I even dialed this back down to 75%. I didn't want it too soft. And, and I think people appreciate that, especially the ladies. They're always making comments of, well, you got a filter you can put on me to, for the interview. And in a way you kind of can here, and I think they probably appreciate it a little bit. And so that's kind of my process for color grading my interviews. And this is, and I wish that I put the NX800, and I will next time. In the next video or the next time I use this camera, I'll be sure to have the highest quality recording formats in both cameras. But as you can tell here, the NX800 does look a little softer, whereas the FX6 is definitely a little more sharp. I did add a little bit of, I think I added a little bit of sharpening. Let me see, I'll add this and see what that does. That's a little better. And sometimes people don't want, their interview subjects to look too sharp. Sometimes people put filters on their lenses to soften things up. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to match these. I don't know. Let me know what you think. How well do you think these two cameras match up? How well of a job do you think I did color correcting it? Is there anything that you think I should do differently? I'd really like to know. I'm open to any feedback. I'm here to learn, so don't be shy. Let me know what you think. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I have to finish up these I think I have six of these videos to edit next week that I'll send off to the client. But yeah, so that's just a quick look. I tried to go as quick as I could. I didn't want to take up too much time. I know this vlog is already getting a little long, so if you found this valuable, go ahead and give the video a like. I would appreciate that, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.